Welcome and hello, everybody. My name is Rachel Zukowski, Program Services Manager for Prince George's County Memorial Library System. Thank you so much for joining our broadcast this afternoon. The topic of this week's community conversation is celebrating the African diaspora. The Prince George's County Human Relations Commission hosts this week's community conversation. Renée Battle-Brooks, Executive Director of Human Relations Commission, moderates a discussion in celebration of the African diaspora with special guest Sylvia Dassi, PhD. Dr. Sylvia is originally from Cameroon, is the newly appointed African Diaspora Liaison in the Office of the County Executive. She has a PhD in Human Genetics from Howard University, a Bachelor of Science in Biology from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and is currently pursuing an MBA from Walden University. She is also a member of the African Diaspora Advisory Board of Prince George's County. We hope you enjoy this and the vast array of wonderful programs and resources available at pgcmls.info. I will now hand the program over to Renée. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. It's a pleasure for us to be here. And thank you so much, Dr. Sylvia Dassi, for joining us. It's an honor. Do you mind if I call you Sylvia?
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you very much for such an invitation. It is an honor to participate in this conversation. It is something that I really looked forward to, and I'm happy that we finally are here today to talk about the African diaspora.
Wonderful. So I think to start with building sort of a foundation, because we want to celebrate your new appointment. And so could you explain to those who may not understand exactly what is your job as the African liaison, the liaison for the African diaspora in Prince George's County through the county executive?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. So it is broad. So being the word liaison is served, meaning that you are a bridge between one stakeholder group and another stakeholder group. So me serving in this capacity in the county executive office, my roles varies from being the voice in our community, ensuring that whatever concerns and challenges our community is facing is being channeled into the county executive office so that solutions can be provided. I also serve to represent the county executive in our community. Part of my job also is to assist with county agencies and municipality governments to develop and implement programs that meet the cultural needs and are unique for the African diaspora, and also coordinate assignments such as activities just like this. And right now that we have, the county is pushing on the COVID-19 vaccination, one of the duties that I'm doing is to develop a COVID-19 vaccination work group for the African community so that to enhance the county capacity to reach herd immunity and ensuring that the African diaspora community residents too are also getting the vaccination. We also work in developing culturally competent materials that list county services that will be disseminated in our community so that there is equal access and to services, and also our community are able to utilize these services to solve their problems that they are facing.
So that sounds like an amazing job, and with so many different facets to it. And I think that you've kind of answered it, but why is it important that we have this liaison position?
Oh, it is very important because first of all, let's look at the demographic of Prince George's County. The population of residents in Prince George's County is almost hitting 1 million, and 62.3% of that is the Black population. So when you look at the Black population, the African immigrant quite contribute to that Black population, but most of the time, the African immigrant population and the Black population are being subsumed to as one demographic, which, yes, we are Black, but we are different. So again, the African immigrant population contribute tremendously to the economic viability of the county. They also contribute in the health sector. Majority of the healthcare workers, I would say, are African immigrants. And right now, as we speak, they're at the forefront, serving the population, especially at this time during the COVID pandemic. And there is also a trend and a history whereby the community felt as though they were being marginalized and their voice was not being heard. So when the current county executive, Angela Ossobrook, took office, and during her campaign, she had a slogan that said, "Everyone will have a seat at the table." That means the African community needs to be represented. So that was why it is very important for us to have a seat at the table, because we contribute to this county, both human capital, economic, we contribute culturally in the rich cultural diversity of the county. So we need to have a voice when it comes to decision-making process. We need to have a voice when it comes to developing policies that affect the residents of the county. So that's why the role is very important. And we want to give credit to the county executive being the first to establish this office, because DC has an office on African Affairs. Montgomery County had a liaison office on African Affairs, but Prince George's County did not have any. So when the current county executive took office and realizing that indeed everybody needs to have a seat at the table, so she created this position to show full representation and inclusiveness, in her administration. So we give her credit for that.
I love how you talked about sort of the rich cultural properties that are brought to us as Prince Georgians through our different voices. And so, and you talked about cultural competency, and I think that is so important for all of us. And so I didn't want to lose an opportunity to perhaps share some of the cultural competency or for others to learn who are listening. So, maybe just some basic facts, or just painting a picture for those who may not have an understanding about the continent of Africa and its diverseness in religion and language and culture and all of these things. So it's a little bit of a quiz. So we're going to start to maybe answer some questions that some may have. So how many different, first of all, diaspora groups? Well, no, let me ask this. What are the differences between the different nations, national origin, cultures in or on the continent of Africa, first of all, as to language?
Well, let's start by actually defining the continent, because there is always that misinformation of Africa as a country and Africa as a continent, especially in the Western world. So Africa is a continent, and it is made up of 56 countries, with the youngest being South Sudan. So let's start from there. And looking at the diversity, Africa is when it comes to cultural diversity, language diversity, it is very, very, very rich. Now, so let's begin with language diversity. And with that, we look at Africa in the different geographic region. So you have the Hausa, you have the Ewe language. So the Hausa, I would say, spans within the Nigeria and northern Cameroon, going to the Chad and the Congo. And then you have the Ewe language that is predominantly spoken in Ghana and in Togo. You have the Arabic language that is predominantly spoken in the Horn of Africa and they'll say around Sahara Africa, because you have sub-Sahara Africa and you have North of Africa. You have Amharic, which is spoken in Ethiopia. You have Swahili, which is spoken in East Africa. You have Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. So then you have the Yoruba, which is in Nigeria, Igbo. You have the Wolof of Senegambia. Then you have Shona, you have the Zulu. And we also have a language that is, I would say, colonial languages based on, if you look at the history, the English, the French, the Portuguese, and the Spanish. So you can see that it is very, very rich. And not to talk of the different, this is just I would say predominantly languages, not to talk of the tribal languages, because you have each country, you have tribes, and they also have their own native language. So if you encompass all of that, it is so rich. I would say it's a billionlingua, if there's such a word like that, even
right.
multilingua. So it is very rich in culture. Now, going to religion, predominant religion in Africa is Muslim and Christianity. And if you look at the Horn of Africa, you have from Morocco all the way towards the Sahara Africa, and almost going to Sudan, and there was this other country I'm trying to think about it right now. You have mostly the Arabic culture and the Muslim religion. Then when you come down to the west, you have Christianity, and as you go down south, there's also Christianity, but it's also diverse with religion being Christianity and Islam being the most dominant religion in Africa.
So, I think that when you look at the continent of Africa, it has to be also looked at through the historical lens. And as we talked a little bit about, some of the colonization that took place that influenced languages, and then, how religion was also influenced by historical things. And you've highlighted sort of the richness and diversity of just some of the major languages spoken on the continent. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the, and it's such a broad question, and I recognize, but contrast some of the cultural differences? Because that's a huge, and I understand that because there's so many rich and vast and distinct, but maybe paint a picture of maybe 3 or 4 sort of different distinct cultural differences.
I would say, let me begin from where I'm from.
Okay.
In Cameroon, we have, Cameroon, by the way, is referred to Africa in miniature, because of its rich cultural diversity. It has a rich geographic terrain that they often say when you come to Cameroon, it's like you've been to all the parts of Africa. So when it comes to our culture is a bilingual country too, both French and English, being right. That the colonization, if you look at the colonial history of Cameroon, it ended up between the British and the French. So that's what makes the country bilingual. So that alone contributes a lot into its rich cultural diversity, where you have the French and then you have the English. But other than that, you also have our different tribes that celebrate their own different cultural activity. For example, in the northwest region of Cameroon, there is a festival that they call the Laila Festival, and that festival is being celebrated by the people of Bali, and it is a festival of that display the richness of their culture. They celebrate their ethnicity. They celebrate everything that encompasses that defines them as people from that region. This is just an example. Then, if you come down to the littoral region, they have what is called the Gondo Festival, and the Gondo Festival is a festival that they celebrate where you have fishermen. There's a race, a canoe race. Let me put it that way. Yes. So it is a rich culture, and just like that, you have different tribes that celebrate their culture. So if you move on to Nigeria, I know Nigeria also have there's an annual festival that they call the Calabar Festival that they celebrate all the time. And I know that each country also have their own individual festivals that they celebrate when it comes to their identity and who they are as a people.
So you've just given us a snapshot of just a small section of the continent and things that are celebrated. What, if any, commonalities are there on the continent? I try to think of, other continents. What, if any, are some of the common things that countries have in common? I don't know. Are there?
Of course, I would say there's commonality. Let me speak in relating to let me say my passion. I'm a food blogger. I blog. And one thing that is common in Africa, I would say, that defines us as a people is that we basically eat almost the same thing, but is the way that is cooked, which is different. Then you also have if you look at the migration of people in Africa, there is a tendency that you will find people who are, how can I put it? So if you look at the migration of people along, now I'm focusing on West Africa, which I am more knowledgeable about. And if you look at the migration of people, you see that, for example, if you come from Nigeria to Cameroon to Benin to Togo to Ghana, there is a similarity in the language and there is a similarity in a little bit of culture. And that is because people migrate, and when they migrate, they take an aspect of them, and they take an aspect of them that when they get to their destination, that tradition, that culture, that language tends to continue. So I would say that, yes, that also contributes in defining the similarity that we may have. And sometimes the language, in as much as we have a cultural language, there are some words that are the same, and that is as a result of that migration and passing down of culture from one generation to another.
Right. So you mentioned that there are some common foods. Like, give us two of the foods that you would find sort of more in common.
Well, if you've ever heard of jollof rice, yeah, jollof rice is one of the African dishes that there is a never-ending war on jollof rice. And it is a dish that originated from Senegal, and it is mostly eaten in West African countries, but the way we cook it is different. And that is why there is a continuous battle over jollof rice, because each country is claiming that they make the best, but it is what, yes, each country is claiming that they make the best. Oh, we make, Nigeria and Ghana are saying that they make the best. Senegalese are saying that we are the original owners of jollof rice. Cameroonians are saying that we make the best. Sierra Leoneans are saying that, no, we make the best. So it's one of those things that brings us together to celebrate our heritage, our similarities, and as a people.
So tell us what goes into jollof rice from the Cameroonian perspective. What makes it the best?
From the Cameroonian perspective, well, let's start by looking at the foundation of the recipe for jollof rice. So jollof rice is actually you cooking rice in a tomato stew based sauce. So in a Cameroonian way, when you put your rice in the tomato stew based sauce, then you add your salt, your bouillon, and other condiments. What makes Cameroonian jollof rice unique is that we add beef cubes. We add beef cubes, and then we also add green beans and carrots into it. So that gives it a significant, it makes it Cameroonian. Whereas the Nigerian will cook their jollof rice plain in the tomato-based sauce, and sometimes they will add red pepper puree in it and other condiments. And then the Sierra Leoneans will cook theirs different, the Ghanaians will cook theirs different, but the Senegalese will also cook theirs different, where they add the cabbage, the garden eggs, the fish. So it just makes it so rich and diverse. But when it comes to that, Africans will say that we are united in united is just one of the things that unites us, and at the same time may divide us at the same time. But we love that.
So that reminds me two things. One, just actually, I think it was last week, you know how during COVID, everything kind of crammed together, but we had with our partners, the library system, Michael Twitty, who is a very famous culinarian, and he's a food historian, and his book is called Rice, and he actually talked about rice, but he was calling it from the American perspective, red rice, and how it originated on the continent, and how it, so fascinating. Also, you mentioned really quickly, but I want to peel that back for a moment, that you're a food blogger. So where can we read and hear from you?
Oh, I will send that information, but I do have a website that you can see me on, and it is www.kengskitchen.com. So you can check out my information on my website, and I mostly cook Cameroonian food because that's what I'm familiar with.
Yummy. So if you get a chance, if you could type it into the private chat, and we can push that out for everyone to see, for those who are interested.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So let's go back to that. There's something you mentioned about. I think you said somebody was a chef and they talked about food and food.
Yes, Michael Twitty.
Yes. So you can also see that if you look at some of the American culture, there's also a similarity to you can link some of the American culture to the origin, of being coming from Africa. So there's that migration all over the world.
That's right. No, that's right. And Michael Twitty did talk really about that migration and how a lot of our foods do come from the continent of Africa, brought over by people that were forced to come and work as slaves here. So yes, that connection is there. So you talked a little bit about religion. We've talked a little bit about language. We've talked about food. I want to delve a little bit more in about some of culture, and when we talk about dress, right? And I think Americans have a lot of questions about what the different maybe patterns or colors, whether there's significance, is there not significance, what does it mean, etc. So maybe give a brief tutorial about that.
Oh my goodness. If I saw this coming, then I would have definitely put on standby my cultural outfit. So start by what I'm wearing right now. This is called kente, and the kente design is associated with Ghana. Yes, Ghana, Togo, and yes, I think Ivory Coast too. So they wear the kente. And with the African outfit, we have different designs. You have the design. You should have included that in the thing. Oh, I would have brought. Can I get?
We can have part two. We can have part two of this conversation.
I was about to say, can I grab something real quick if I'm permitted? Yeah. So this is called.
Sure. I'm fine with that. It's a conversation.
You sure?
Absolutely.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. 1 minute. Okay.
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 So while she's gone, we'll just review what we've learned. So we have learned from Sylvia, Dr. Dasi, that Africa is in fact a continent, not a country. Oh, here we go. I was just reviewing what we'd learned. Okay.
Now, if you see this,
yes.
Anytime you see this is Cameroonian.
Yes.
This is called atogo.
Atogo. Mm-hmm.
Yes. It is made, the fabric itself, it is velvet.
Yes.
And then it is actually hand embroidered.
Beautiful.
It is hand embroidered. The history of it, I really don't know, but I know that it is something that our forefathers wore. The current our fathers are wearing it, the children are wearing it, the future generation are going to wear. So if you look at these, the design, it comes in different patterns. There are some that you see that is embroidered with like a cup. Then there's some that you see that's embroidered like a drum. So you just have different patterns. So anyway, let me go back to this. This is Ghana. So each country kind of have their national cloth. So the one I showed you is for Cameroon. This is Ghana. But this one, right, it is fabric. The original kente is woven by hand.
Right.
Just how you have the one I showed you that is also embroidered by hand. Then if you move on to East Africa, you have the Ethiopian cloth. I don't know what it's called, but that is also very beautifully designed. It is white, and the women wear it and the men wear it. Right. Then if you go down south, you have the South Africans too. They have their nice design that they wear. And then if you go up north, you have the Arabic influence of the Morocco, the Tunisia, the Algeria. So, and then if you come into the middle, you have the Kenyans too. They have a very nice design of their outfit. So it depends on which part of Africa you go to, and each country tends to have kind of like their national garments. I will put it that way. Yes.
Yes. So you don't know
the Nigerian community too. You have the lace. I'm sure if you've attended some of the Nigerian events, you see how the women are also beautifully dressed with the colors. Mm-hmm.
Yes, fascinating. So you don't know this about me, Sylvia, but I was actually born in Ghana. I don't think I ever shared that with you. So she has on a kente cloth.
Yes.
So yeah. So okay. Now, I know, and I'm sure a lot of people do that, the continent is a rich place with natural resources and other rich cultural contributions to the world history. And so maybe if you could speak maybe a little bit about notable innovations or things that people have done or that countries have undertaken in terms of producing or inventing. I want to highlight quite a few positive things and things that really highlight the continent.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad we are having this conversation because it's really changing the narrative of Western perspective on Africa when it comes to what is usually aired on the media. So when it comes to innovation, right now the United Nations has sustainable development goals that each country with targets that each country is supposed to meet by the year 2030. And
which is practically here now, if you think about it.
Of course, it is here with a blink of an eye. And Africa is not going to be left behind in no way or form. So COVID came, yes, it kind of slowed us down, but there are countries that are doing extremely well. With one of the targets being encouraging countries to pursue innovation and promotion, I looked at the Global Innovation Index, yes, to actually see how the African countries are performing in this era whereby they are required to reach the Sustainable Development Goal, is the target on Sustainable Development Goal 9. And I was quite impressed to see that there are African countries that actually made it to the top 100, and with the leading African country being Mauritius, you have South Africa, you have Kenya, Tanzania, you have Rwanda that is becoming an emerging country when it comes to innovation and technology and science, and then you also have Cape Verde. And looking at the innovation index, these are countries that are investing in their human capital, innovation in their human capital, because when you have human capital, you're sure of innovation and you're sure of the economic viability of your country when it comes to your GDP. Then you also have, and these are countries that also invest in research and development. Of course, we know that for any innovation to occur, you have to go through prototype, design, testing, concepts. So they're actually investing in technology, in renewable energy, technology, especially now COVID has taught us that we need to appreciate information technology. So these are countries that are also investing in information technology in the health sector, in automobile, in telecommunication. So I was quite pleased to see how that the continent is actually working towards meeting this target on Sustainable Development Goal 9.
That's right. And I would venture to say that the literacy rate is very high, and it actually may be higher in some places than here.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yes. And just to go over the countries that they made it to the top 100 African countries. So you have Mauritius, South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Botswana, Rwanda, Cape Verde, Tunisia, Namibia, Madagascar, Morocco. So I was quite impressed that these countries made it to the top top 100, and you still, there are other countries that are below 100, but to see that Africa is thriving when it comes to innovation and technology is quite impressive.
It is. And again, I think it's important that we all are culturally competent to these issues as well, right?
Yes.
As Americans, very much so.
And one thing that I will say is, and this is given my experience growing up as a child, and it's still happening in the continent of Africa, is that Africa is, I would say, a hub for startups, and a hub because the level at which people can improvise to solve, improvise when it comes to technology to solve their challenges is a breeding ground of innovation. I watched this movie on Netflix, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. If you haven't watched it, it's a very amazing story of a young man by name William Kwamba of Namibia, who out of garbage built a windmill.
Wow.
Yes, a windmill that he used in solving agriculture problems. At that time, Namibia was going through a drought, and the country, people were dying of starvation. At the age of 14, he built a windmill, and he used that windmill to power electricity in his house. There were people lined up in front of his house to charge their phone in a small village. And he also used the windmill to power a hydro pump that he used for irrigation for agriculture, because his parents were farmers. So you can see that there is that innate skill of innovation within the population, and given the opportunity and the platform to express it will really, really put Africa at the level at which they will reach the target of the Sustainable Development Goal.
Yeah. It's such it's so wonderful and affirming to hear this.
And also, in at the heat of COVID, when I was also looking at news in Africa, because when COVID hit, the continent of Africa was being looked at as a doomed, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And the whole world was talking about, okay, they see a lot of people dying in Africa because of the poor health infrastructure. But guess what? Africa surprised the entire world.
That's right.
Yes, it surprised the entire world. And we could see that, and in the heat of COVID, when there was a need of ventilators, we saw students, science students, STEM students, heading into the lab and trying to come up with innovative ventilators that they could use. It may not be high tech, but it could be something that can save a life. So that's also an area. When I talked about the countries that made the top 10 in the Global Innovation Index, and how these countries are investing in their human capital. So it's very, very important when we see students, STEM students, actually creating innovative devices, even at prototype stages. It is very, very, very important. It means innovation is actually rising in Africa.
It's exciting. Yes. Yes. So I wanted to delve just a little bit. And this is really where I think you can really help educate us about cultural and roles that are different. So if you could maybe just speak about if there's a difference, what the difference is and how it's different, the roles of women, men, elders, children. And I know it's not the entire continent, but pick a couple of places and contrast it to the United States, perhaps.
This is a very good question, because as you know, March is International Women's Month, and we just celebrated International Women's Day. I think that was March 8th, a couple of days ago.
Yes, Monday. Yeah.
Let me focus particularly on women, because this is our time to shine. And right. The month, the time, the year, the era to shine. The theme for the International Women's Day is choose to challenge. That is a very big I would say phrase. Choose to challenge.
Yeah.
Traditionally, the role of a woman or an African woman has always been seen as take your rightful place in the house, in the kitchen. You serve, your family, your husband. You're not allowed to work. No, 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 no. Yes. We are heading towards gender equality, correct? So we need to be changing this narrative.
Yes.
Yes, we need to be changing this narrative that the woman's place is not only in the house. Sometimes one of my friends said, Sylvia, when you have a child, then you will understand that you have 12 hands because you will carry the baby this way, you will juggle this way. So I think the woman also have that capacity to explore and to become whatever she wants to become in the society. So in this scenario, let me shed the light and talk about women in Africa who are breaking the glass ceilings, women who are changing this narrative of a woman's role in the society, and women in Africa who chose to challenge the norm. So we have, I think as of March 1st, Dr. Ngozi Iweala, who is a Nigerian American, an economist, and for the first time, a woman was appointed the Director General of the World Trade Organization.
Yes, I read that, snapping my fingers.
Yes. Yes. So you also have former President of Liberia.
That's right.
Salih, yes, of Liberia. And we have the current president of Ethiopia, Sahel Work. So you see that these are women that are changing the society, that they are paving the way for the younger generation to say, I can do whatever I can do. I choose to challenge the norm. I choose to change the narrative. I choose to be a leader who can change the world. And I don't just want to talk about Africa as women, the women that I've listed as an example, but I also want to give credit to our current Vice President here,
yes.
Kamala Harris, for also breaking that glass ceiling to becoming the first African, first biracial woman to hold the office of the Vice President, and to our own county executive for becoming the first female county executive in Prince George's County. So we are changing the world. We are changing the narrative all over. So it is not just in Africa whereby, the role of a woman have to be a submissive wife, a housewife, who take care of the children. You also have that in most societies around the world. But when we are talking about gender equality, we are talking about changing the world. I think there's no limit, there's no glass ceiling for a woman.
That's right. So what I hear Sylvia saying is there's no difference. And so as women, we have to, right? The sisterhood, we are capable of anything we set our minds to, and that we won't be put into roles that are prescribed for us.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Love it. So, you talked a little bit about at the beginning that part of your role as the liaison is to work on sort of the COVID issue and, culturally competent messaging and getting sort of the word out and hearing concerns and bringing those back and having, being the bridge. Can you talk to us about what, if anything, what effects COVID has had, particularly in our community here in Prince George's County as part of our African diaspora?
Well, what I would say is that there's no difference as to which community has been hit hard. We all have experienced the effect of COVID at some level.
Yeah.
So be it people losing their job, be it people losing loved ones to the disease, be it people getting into a situation within their wellness because of the first time that they're experiencing a pandemic like this. So it is not unique. To me, in my opinion, I would say it is not unique. We all have experienced the effect of COVID in one way or the other.
Do you think there are any cultural barriers that may make the experience uniquely different?
Well, the first thing is that COVID does not discriminate. Yes,
that is for sure.
It really does not discriminate. It does not discriminate your culture, your gender, where you come from. It does not the language that you speak.
That's right.
Yeah. So
maybe access, or maybe not. Maybe access to resources or knowing how to navigate. Maybe that isn't a barrier. I don't know.
Well, that is a common challenge that each community is facing. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, in our community, it is a big challenge because there are several barriers that are on the way for people to access resources. And that is one of the things we are working on. I mentioned that I'm currently working on establishing the COVID-19 vaccination work group. And the reason why we do need such a work group is because let's go with health communication.
Right.
Imagine if you're not in the medical field, right, and you go to see your doctor and your doctor has your lab report in front of you or has examined you and he's telling you your result. First of all, the language barrier, if the person is not speaking English and the doctor speaks English, or maybe the person may be fluent in English, but the doctor is not fluent in English, that's first of all, it's already the language barrier. Second of all, the literacy level is also a barrier. So what we intend to do when we start working with our COVID-19 work group is to channel the awareness and the importance of the COVID-19 vaccination to our community in a culturally competent way. So we plan on working with the health department and said, what message do you want to communicate to the African community to encourage them to take the vaccine? And we take that message and then we tailor it. So when we tailor that message, we're going to develop brochures. The brochures will be translated to these African languages that I've listed. Here in the county, the top 5 African countries you have are Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia, I think Ivory Coast. I hope I'm not leaving.
I think Ethiopia is.
Ethiopia, yes. So that means we are going to translate that language, the educational material, into Amharic, French, English, Swahili, Arabic, to ensure that the message is being communicated. Secondly, we are going to develop a health educational video. And just like how when you go to a clinic or to see your doctor and you're waiting at the waiting room, at the reception, there is a video that talks about to remind you of your annual screenings, physical. So we want to develop a video where we can disseminate in the different healthcare system, hospitals, clinics, for it to air in their waiting section, because no matter how we see it, COVID may never and ever go away. You know, at this point in time, I attended one of the webinar, and the host within our African community, he has worked with the FDA for so many years, and that's Dr. Jethro Ekuta. He is well versed in vaccines and drug approval and the entire process, how pharmaceuticals get their products to the FDA for approval. So he was also enlightening our community about the COVID-19. And I asked him, I said, Dr. Ekuta, do you think the COVID vaccine, how often do we have to take the COVID vaccine? Is it going to be something that we are encouraged to take every year like the flu shot? And he says, well, we don't know. Studies are still being done at this time. So imagine COVID is not really going to go away, which means people are still going to be encouraged to take the vaccine. And with that, we need a message that we can also continue to, share within our community to encourage them to take the vaccine. So in that way, I would say that the challenges that people face in the society when it comes to accessing social services is similar, but addressing the challenges in each community in a culturally competent way will help in solving these challenges and build a healthier and wealthy community.
And that's beautiful, because as we acknowledge and know that in Prince George's, we are a rich, multicultural, multi-ethnicity location, you know, with this fabric of who we are, the diversity woven to make this beautiful place that is called Prince George's County, with all the diversity that exists. And so it's very important what you have shared in terms of some of the mission that you're on, you know, the goals. We've talked a little bit about, you know, identifying important holidays or days of celebration and various diaspora groups. And you hit a couple, but were there any more that you wanted to share in terms of sort of an important holiday or day of celebration and the significance thereof? I know you hit upon Cameroon and some sort of in Nigeria. Is there any, and if not, that's okay, but any in the like North Africa, in our Arabic speaking, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt, you know?
Well, I'll begin by, first of all, each country celebrate their Independence Day.
Yeah.
That
Independence from whom, right? That's
a national celebration. Then you have religious holidays, Christmas, and that also applies. For example, for the Muslim community, you have the ending of the fast.
That's right. Yeah.
How do they call it again? I kind of the fasting. The fasting period, Eid, something Eid, they call it Eid.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so you have the ending of the fast where they celebrate. Then they have
Ramadan right at the end of every.
Ramadan, thank you, end of Ramadan. So I know they have different Eids that they celebrate. Then you have, I talked about cultural festivals too.
Right,
you know,
that's right.
Africa is. Then you have let me use this opportunity to honor the great man, Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
Mandela Day, which I believe is a day in the month of July, that we turn to celebrate him for his heroism and the role he played in one of the political activists and transformation in the transformation of Africa as a whole, and a revolutionary. So we honor that as well. And then you have New Year's Day, you have Easter, you have, I think that falls under religious holidays as well. So it's then you have how can I say it again? You have the special days that a nation can commemorate to celebrate in honor of their history, their ancestors, things like that.
Right. So we talked a little bit about food, and we're not quite at the end of COVID, but I wonder for those who have heard this talk today, our conversation, and are inspired to get out and explore their boundaries and don't have a lot of time or money, where in the DMV, what places can they go to learn, to sample food, to just, get a taste of different cultural things from the continent of Africa? What do you recommend or suggest?
Okay, good. Swahili Village Bar and Grill. They have 2 restaurants here in the DMV area. There is one in Beltsville and there is one in Washington, D.C., and it's called The Consulate. So for those of you who want to experience African food, Swahili Village Bar and Grill is the highest of African fine dining. When you go there, you get to enjoy the exquisite, cuisine of East Africa.
Okay, so that was going to be East Africa. So that's where, yes.
Yes, you go to East Africa, and I'm thinking, I know there are a lot of Ethiopia. Well, Ethiopian restaurant is to East Africa. Then Nando Peri Peri, I think it's a South African restaurant. There should be one around the DMV area.
Yeah.
Just
I think Laurel has one, I think. I'm not sure.
Yes, Google. And then you have some Nigerian restaurants too. There are so many of them. I'm trying to think of right now, but
but somebody could like Google and get it.
Well, there is one in DC, Zion Kitchen. You Google it, Zion Kitchen. You also have Queensway Restaurant in Riverdale. It's a Nigerian restaurant as well. Then you have a Cameroonian restaurant, Flora's Kitchen, that is in Greenbelt. And I know there are also Ghanaian restaurants too, but I think if you Google,
right.
Yes, so Swahili Village Bar and Grill is a place to visit. And once you walk in there, the first thing we hear is Karibu, and that means a welcome. in Swahili.
That's beautiful. And so, for those listening, once you have your vaccination and we're given the okay for, 100% free, there are lots of places to go and just sample foods outside of your comfort zone, outside of something that you would even think. Yeah. Taste the world.
And African food is very delicious, very, very delicious. I don't know if you've heard, there was a viral video going around on Twitter, on the social media channel, on African fufu.
Yeah.
I don't know if you came across that. Yes.
I didn't watch it, but I heard about it, right? Because fufu is very Ghanaian as well.
Yes, it's Ghanaian. It is African. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yeah. So Africans don't go wrong with your fufu. We love our fufu. That's what makes us unique. Yes, but it is worth exploring. And if you feel like traveling to the continent, there are very beautiful places that you can visit to experience Africa in its entire beauty. And if you want to go on a safari, then you start looking at Kenya, Tanzania. I have personally been to Tanzania and I love it. And when you go to Tanzania, you will see Tanzania is one of those countries that have a very rich culture of the Arabic, the Indian, the African, all meshed together. And you also have the Maasai people all meshed together, and they have a very beautiful island, Zanzibar. I've been there too. It's very beautiful too. So if you're looking at, to explore the safari, you can go to Tanzania. If you want to explore the mountains, you can come to Cameroon. We have Mount Cameroon, one of the famous mountains in Africa. You can go to Kenya no, let me be right. I think Tanzania or Kenya for Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
Yes, you can also visit the Table Mountain in South Africa. You can visit Victoria Falls in Zanzibar. Yes.
Zimbabwe, yeah.
Zimbabwe. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe, I think.
Well, it's right on there, but yes, it's Zimbabwe.
I think
it's right there. Yeah.
And if you want to experience the Arab culture, you can go to Morocco. Morocco is very beautiful too. I've been to Morocco, but more of a transit, and I love the country very, very, very much. And if you want to see the pyramids, and you can visit Egypt. We know about the pyramids of Egypt. And those of you who want to do business in Africa and you're looking for a place to go to, looking at innovation, Nigeria is Africa's largest economy. You can visit Nigeria. You can also Rwanda too is beautiful. It's a very beautiful country. You can go to Ghana too. Ghana as well. I know a lot of people have been going to Ghana, especially, and I heard that the Ghanaian president is actually welcoming Americans who will want to return.
That's right. The return was last year. The 400
exactly.
years. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
And so we challenge everybody listening, if you don't have the funds or the time to actually go to the continent, explore where you work, live, or play right here in the DMV. There are lots of opportunities.
Exactly. And a lot of people too have been doing their genetic ancestry, and trying to find out where the ancestors are from in the land of Africa. So I would like to also encourage you, if you find your genetic ancestry, to get in contact with the embassies that your genetic makeup is mostly associated to that particular country. Get in contact with their embassies and ask if they have a program that the program that allow people to actually engage into their community right here in the US, or actually to take a trip back home, because I know the Cameroon embassy does for those Americans who have genetically traced their ancestry and it's been linked to Cameroon. The Cameroon embassy have a program whereby they have a visitation. These individuals can visit Cameroon and then explore that aspect of their life.
That's beautiful advice. Beautiful advice. So we have some questions from those that are listening, and I see here a question from Miss Vivian. She's one of the loyal followers of the programming done here at PGMLS, and some of the programming that we partner with as well from the Human Relations Commission. So how long, she asks, have you been in Prince George's County, and do you like it here?
Oh, yeah. I migrated to the US at the age of 16. I'm actually an alum of Oxon Hill High School. So since 2002 to the present, I've been a resident in Prince George's County.
Excellent, excellent.
I have not moved out of state.
Yeah, right. Why?
Well, did you ask me why?
Well, I was kind of saying like
Exactly. Why should I move? Yes,
right,
because
exactly.
everything that I do is within my DMV area.
Right. That was kind of my point. Like, yeah. Let's see. Okay. So, what is, and we have 5 minutes left, and if there are other questions, but let me ask you this. What is the one thing that you would want somebody to know about being from the continent of Africa if they knew nothing else? And this was you had 30 seconds in an elevator to go up and to tell somebody, like, what is the one thing that they should know?
Well, is to be open-minded. Embrace what Africa has to offer.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes, to be open-minded, embrace what Africa has to offer, because it's a knowledge that can change your dynamic of reasoning.
Yeah. And I think what you've highlighted today is that, we are all the same, right? We may just speak different languages. We have all the same goals and aspirations, and that none of us want limits or limitations or to be put in boxes or categorized a certain way. And food is a great common thread for all of us, eating good food and
all
learning.
of us. It unites us. Even UNESCO, the United Nations Education and Cultural Development Organization, talks about food as a cultural heritage. So when we embrace food, we embrace people, for who they are, and food contributes to their identity and who they are as a people.
That's right. What is something or advice you could share for somebody listening who perhaps has someone in their neighborhood, in the apartment building, in the house, that is maybe an immigrant, may not be from the continent of Africa, but an immigrant? What is one thing, or maybe two things, that you can share with this person to help ease or to make that person feel more welcome or accept it here as an immigrant?
I would say, so acculturation plays a key role in adaptability in the new environment. Embrace the American culture, but know who you are as an immigrant. And at the end of the day, it's mutual respect. From one, culture, if you come from another culture as an immigrant and you meet someone here, respect each other's culture and love each other as human beings, because I look at this as we are just, there's a song that says we are a stranger unto this world.
That's right.
So, yes, as you go through as an immigrant and you're going through the acculturation process, remember your roots, know who you are, but at the same time, embrace the environment, the culture of the environment that you are, respect each other and love each other. And same to a non-immigrant. If you see an immigrant, embrace an immigrant and know that we are all equal as a people, no matter our differences.
That's right. And just because something is different doesn't make it less. And just because something is not familiar doesn't mean that isn't as good or better in terms of ways to do things, or right. And so,
exactly.
Yeah, I think what you said,
and not to have implicit bias against people, or kind of stereotype against people.
That's right. It's really the fundamental principle is respecting each other, respect, and understanding that when one thrives, we all thrive. And so we're all on this journey together. So I want to thank you so much for spending this hour in conversation. I want to thank those who tuned in to listen, and thank you for your question, Ms. Vivian. And again, we want to welcome you as the new liaison from the Office of the County Executive for the Africa Diaspora. Do you have any closing words that you want to impart?
Well, thank you very much. Thanks to the county executive for appointing me, and thank you, your platform, the library system, Office of Human Relations. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to talk about Africa and to celebrate the African diaspora.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So until next time, we will sign off. Thanks. Have a wonderful afternoon and evening. Bye-bye.